What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And today I am joined by my good friend, Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report. Guys, it has been quite a while since I've been active on the channel, but as we get closer to OTAs, training camp, all that stuff, we definitely wanted to ramp up the content for you guys. And a hot topic, I think, right now, Michael, for the Chiefs Kingdom to talk about is the left tackle situation. I think this has really been the main topic of conversation for most of the offseason since the season wrapped up. What are the Chiefs going to do at left tackle? They signed someone in free agency. They spent a draft pick on it. Probably a pretty good strategy just to throw some assets at that position. And I mean, they spent a good chunk of money and they spent a relatively high draft pick to try and get it fixed. But now the question is, who's going to start at left tackle? Because they brought in two high-profile guys through the free agency period and the draft, Michael. I'm going to put you on the spot to begin this video. Who do you think is going to start at left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Josh, if you put a gun to my head 2 weeks ago and said who is going to start at left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025, I would have told you Jalen Moore. I would have been very confident that Jalen Moore was going to be the starter. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. If we've seen during OTAs, we've seen during this offseason period that Josh Simmons has made strides in his recovery, and it almost seems like he is going to have that job, which, like, I did not expect at all in 2025. I thought that he was a, break-in case of emergency type of player, but apparently the Chiefs are going to try to, get him as ready to go to be the starting left tackle as possible. And I even saw something, I believe that Daniel Harms went on How About Those Chiefs and was talking to him about how if Jawaan Taylor isn't good, throw Jalen Moore as your right tackle and even just cut Jawaan Taylor, which I was like, that's quite the investment. I guess not the investment, but quite the financial undertaking to cut Jawaan Taylor. But it almost seems like the Chiefs are going with Josh Simmons. And the reason I say that is because he has been, very talked up by this coaching staff. And it almost seems like he has that job right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has the momentum and he's kind of like trending, right? Like if you just kind of read the tea leaves, look at everything that's been said and done. The Chiefs have made a few gestures that would suggest that Josh Simmons is their guy. First of all, they took him in the first round of the NFL draft when everyone else didn't. We heard, all that pre-draft process. I mean, they're very public with the pre-draft process regarding Josh Simmons. It's like they love this guy. They loved him from day one. They were very loud about it. And then Andy Reid made a comment last week about how they think he's ahead of schedule in his recovery. They've been more optimistic about the injury than it seems like anyone else. Dating back to the beginning of the draft process, I was always concerned, just like you, Michael, that with that torn patellar tendon, he may not be the same. We haven't seen him yet. This is a huge risk. I still tend to think he's more of a move for 2026. And I do think that Jalen Moore should and will be the starting left tackle in 2025. And this is subject to change. Maybe we get to training camp and something leads me to believe that it will be Josh Simmons. But the thing is, I'm still, and it doesn't, I said this last year when they drafted Kingsley, and I'm going to say it again because it hasn't changed just because it's a different prospect. I'm just not a fan of starting rookies at left tackle. I just don't think it's a great strategy. Rookies are going to struggle, and I think one of the biggest reasons the Chiefs signed Jalen Moore in the offseason was because for a few years they had been trying to throw these draft prospects in year one at left tackle. It's not working, and they brought in a veteran that they know can give them stable play. So it's not you're throwing this guy in there, throwing him into the fire day one. So I do think there's a plan. They don't want to have another Kingsley situation where they throw him out there, he looks awful, and then his confidence is shot. And that's a big reason why I think Jalen Moore will still be the starting left tackle. And then secondly, and I know nobody wants to acknowledge it, and people will say, you just want to throw the best five out there, regardless of contract, right, Michael? But we know We know that's not how it works in the NFL. There's been many times where there's been a better player, but the guy that's getting paid more is still going to get that starting position. He's still going to get the benefit of the doubt. And there's a few situations here and there you could point to, a few anomalies where a team just cuts bait with their huge contract. I mean, look at the Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins. They signed him to a huge deal. They're already rolling with Michael Penix. They're done with Kirk Cousins, regardless of the deal they gave him. But more often than not, and I think more often than not with the Kansas City Chiefs in particular, the guy that they're paying the most money is who's going to be out there. There's a lot of times you could have pointed to last year where you're like, man, they need to bench Jawan Taylor. Guess what? He's making $20 million a year. He's going to be out there. Frank Clark. I mean, we had that conversation for years, Michael. You know about that. There were so many defensive ends they brought in here that looked better than Frank Clark. And he still got the majority of the snaps because he's Frank Clark and he's making $100 million. And then, CEH, a little bit different, draft pick status more so than contract. But how many running backs came in here and we said, man, this guy just offers more than CEH, but CEH was always going to get those snaps because he's got the first round pick. He's got the highest level of investment. So that's why I think as of right now, Jalen Moore's still your starting left tackle in 2025. But what do you think?
I think that's how the Chiefs should operate, because why would you even go out this offseason and sign Jalen Moore if you were going to draft a left tackle in the first round and start him anyway? Like that, it goes back to the roster construction of this team, Josh. Why are we dishing out big-time contracts for players on the offensive line that aren't either any good or end up playing, meaningful snaps? Like, what was the point of signing Jalen Moore if he's not going to be your starting left tackle? What was the point of franchise tagging Trey Smith and not getting a deal done or not letting him walk in free agency? What was the point in signing Jawan Taylor? We thought he was going to be the left tackle a couple of years ago. It's just like, what is this team doing financially with offensive linemen? And so I definitely think that Jalen Moore should be the starter. I believe that he should be, the week one starter at left tackle. I think the question is, do they split time? Because I would not be surprised if Jalen Moore is the starter week one, and then week 5, 6, maybe, I guess, past the bye week, maybe Josh Simmons is the starter. Maybe there's an injury to Jalen Moore, and then you've got no choice. And that's a little bit of a different situation.
Sure.
But I definitely think that, it's not off the table for Simmons to start at some point in 2025.
I think you bring up some really good points, Michael, and I'm going to answer a couple of them here in a second. But before we do that, guys, I do want to give a shout out to our partners here on this channel, Penalty Verdict. They're coming out with a new app for next football season. You guys are going to want to check this out.
Whether you're sick of seeing your team constantly get screwed over by the refs, tired of hearing about how your team only wins because of the refs, or simply just desire fair play and accountability, then Penalty Verdict is the perfect app for you. Penalty Verdict is a new app that allows football fans to vote on penalty calls in real time on both NFL and college football games. With Penalty Verdict, you'll be able to engage with a community of football fans who desire accuracy and transparency in officiating. And not only does Penalty Verdict allow you to vote on and discuss penalties in real time, but you'll also have access to data and statistics on specific referees. And you can even see what your favorite team's win-loss record is with that referee heading the crew. You can use this information to make educated guesses on who's going to win each game, and earn even more XP, which can be used to place wagers and climb up leaderboards on Penalty Verdict. Unlock the next dimension of sports by engaging with real-time polling of referees, players, and teams. And lastly, view data-driven insights to have informed discussions about the games. While Penalty Verdict is still in the development phase, we would love to hear your guys' feedback on what features you want to see in the app for next football season. Invite your friends to join and share Penalty Verdict today, and follow Penalty Verdict on social media.
So you guys, that is Penalty Verdict, the app that all football fans are going to have next season, especially if you're a Chiefs fan, because you guys know the allegations about the refs are always just being hurled towards this fan base, but this app is going to be a really useful tool to utilize when you're engaging in football discourse with other fans that claim that the Chiefs always get help from the refs. So yeah, link is going to be in the description to get on the wait list for that. And also make sure you guys give them feedback on what features you want to see for next season. But anyway, Michael, I want to go back to the amount of money that the Chiefs are paying Jalen Moore this offseason, or this season, I should say, but the contract they gave him in the offseason. You mentioned how they just paid him a bunch of money. Yeah, that's a great point, because here's the thing. He's making $15 million a year. It was a 2-year, $30 million deal. $15 million per year is not nothing. In fact, Michael, that makes him one of the highest paid players on the offense. And I just don't think there is any scenario in which a guy making $15 million just doesn't play for the entire, like, even if he's not the starting left tackle, we could have this conversation another day too. Even if he's not the starting left tackle, like, I just don't think there's a way where a guy making $15 million isn't going to play at all. I think they invested a good chunk of money into Jalen Moore for a reason. And also, I haven't even talked about it in this video, but I still think he's got a load of potential and he's a damn good football player. There's that point too, that like this guy came in at times for Trent Williams, backing up the best left tackle in the NFL. And the 49ers offense was still pretty much the same with him in there instead of Trent Williams. Not saying he's as good as Trent Williams, but like he's obviously played NFL snaps. The Chiefs have seen him before. He's been on film playing good football in the NFL. And I think, that goes a long way towards him winning this left tackle battle in the offseason compared to a guy who's coming off a torn patellar tendon and has never played a snap in the NFL.
Well, that, and it's like you also have a left guard controversy. Like, who's going to be the Joe Tooney replacement? We think it's going to be Kingsley. If they paid Jalen Moore $15 million a year to play left guard, I'm going to lose it, Josh. I'm going to lose it. Like, that is just not how you construct your offensive line, and it hasn't worked. And if it had worked,
but I'd rather him play left guard than play nothing at all, and he's making all that money.
And that's true. That's true. I think it just goes back to, that's not good roster construction. And it's why in both Super Bowls that you've lost in horrible blowout fashion, that's been the reason. Yeah. Like, that's bad. That's really, really bad.
Yeah. And I think, going back to our reaction on Josh Simmons from draft night when you and I talked about it, or I guess in our video after the draft, kind of grading the picks, I think Josh Simmons was more of a move for 2026, and I don't really think that's changed much. That's not to say he won't play. And like you said, I think one of the reasons they invested both a draft pick and a free agent is because there's been injuries before. I mean, that was the whole reason that really Joe Tooney had to move out to left tackle, because it was Lonnie Morris, and then he got hurt. And there just was, and DJ Humphries, and he couldn't stay healthy either. Like, that was the main reason Joe Tooney had to move out there. So it's not to say that Josh Simmons won't play at all in 2025. I think you will see some times where he is out there, whether it's due to injury or a late game blowout. The Chiefs are going to get him some snaps, I think, as long as he is healthy. But I still think he's more of a move for 2026, and I'm holding firm on that for right now.
And he better play in the preseason. If he's capable of playing, he should get a lot of preseason snaps.
For sure.
Because they did not play Kingsley that much in the preseason. And it was kind of like, why are you not giving him, left tackle reps, with the first team? It didn't make much sense, and they didn't handle that situation well at all.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I think even in preseason, it's going to be interesting because I don't think the person that plays the most in the preseason is necessarily going to be your starter. I think this is going to be one that we're watching all the way up until that first game, who's going to start. I really do.
Yeah. And there might be some football politics behind it. Just like, hey, you're the first round draft pick, but we just signed this guy to a 2-year, deal where we're giving him a ton of money. And I understand that they can get out of it after the first year, but the first year is not over until 2025 concludes. So there's a reason to play Jalen Moore somewhere on your offensive line. But again, it doesn't make sense right now to cut Jawan Taylor. And so you're kind of running out of spots, unless they think, Kingsley's not the guy at left guard. But I don't think they signed Jalen Moore to be your left guard. I think they signed him to be your left tackle.
Yeah, and let me be clear too. Like, I think the Chiefs will know who their starting left tackle is well before week 1 of the NFL season. But I think they are going to treat it as this competition all the way up until that first game. It's not going to be a set in stone. Like, this guy's to start, like, see everywhere else on this offense. Like, Patrick Mahomes, obviously the starter at quarterback, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, probably your starters at wide receiver. It's not like people are going to be left guessing all the way up until week 1.
And that's how they want it, Josh. That is exactly how they want. They don't want anyone to be like, we know who their left tackle is, and they're going to just tease us for the entire offseason.
Yeah, I think so. But guys, we definitely want to hear from you down in the comments below. Who do you think should or who do you think will start for the Kansas City Chiefs at left tackle in 2025? Definitely want to hear from you guys down below. All that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com. And then, Michael, before we go, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. That's kind of the one-stop shop for everything that I do. Guys, hit that like button on this video. Come back and watch both Josh and I. It's been a lonely offseason, and hopefully as we get closer towards this 2025 revenge season, more Chiefs fans can start engaging with us once again.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Make sure you go ahead down in that description. Michael's stuff will all be down there as always. And Michael, like I said before we started, I was a little bit rusty with the intro, and I just now realized I totally forgot to play my new intro. So I'll use it as the outro for this video, but we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. So enjoy the outro, guys, or the very late intro. But we'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.